What up, bros? Can all hear Bulls on Wall Street? What's going on in the hood? Guys, happy Tuesday. They call this Thirsty Tuesdays down here in Florida. But I'm over here doing the Lord's work, man. Getting this watch list ready for you guys so that we can get going. All right. Hopefully, you guys are having an awesome week and are ready to work. The market is heating up once again. We saw all sorts of fun and games happening here. So let's take a look at the market indexes and then go over, 6, 7 of my favorite stocks, maybe 10, and let's party. All right. So first of all, market was about 0.4% for today. Let's just take out this post-market data for a second. Yeah, so 0.3%. We drifted up a little bit after hours here. And we are at a kind of a key spot here. We've got basically a 4-day range here. So we've got, a little bit of a range inside a range. So you can see here, we're digesting this kind of movement. It's like a makeshift flag, right? And then we've got this, 1, 2, 3 days kind of range here, and a little bit of a, once again, makeshift trend line, right? A little bit of a makeshift trend line, but we've got something right here that if we can kind of prolapse upon, then that could take us over here. So we've got a little bit of positivity, I think, in the general indexes. If we're looking at the SPY, the primary trend is up, right? And then, your kind of intermediates have been flatline, but the short term has been flying, right? And the short term has been flying, and now we've digested this, but you can see we're kind of very, very similar to the Qs where, we have a little bit of a range here, a little bit of a box that we just got to come out of. And if we can do that, then we're going to kind of take this, back up into there. And on the good side, we've had some nice pullbacks and consolidations on a lot of names. So I think that's something to be really positive about. Now, the downside is, of course, that the IWM is still in the crapper. I wouldn't consider this a breakdown. A lot of times people see something like this 50-day moving average and they consider this a breakdown. It's not, because when you have something that's sideways, right? So moving averages do two purposes. Number one, they tell you the trends on specific time frames. And then the second part is they act as levels of support and resistance, but during trending environments. So you are in absence, you're in just a big, long range, right? So if you look back over here, right, we're just like in this big, long range. And so the IWM is not in a trending environment. So the 50-day moving average, the 9-day moving average, all of these moving averages, see how it's just kind of crisscrossing around in them? They really don't serve any purpose. When you have an instrument that's just stuck in range, you will break over and under the moving averages like it doesn't exist. The stock will just pretend like it's not there. Moving averages work best when you have, right, something that's trending higher. Then all of the sudden, your support, your resistances, all these kind of things really come into play in terms of moving averages. In range, you have to use different stuff or no stuff, right? I prefer just to stay away. So we did break under the 50-day moving average, but I wouldn't be surprised if we gap down tomorrow that it just flips back the other way, because that's what range trading does. Now, the flip side of all of this kind of fun stuff is that there are some nice sectors that are in play that I think we can keep track of tomorrow. This is IBIT. This is the ETF for Bitcoin. It's looking fantastic here. We have what we'd call a flat top breakout, which is 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests, 4 tests of resistance. Guys, to have any kind of breakout, you need 3 tests, right? 3 tests are for winners. Winners. And 2 tests are for losers, right? 2 tests are for losers, right? And so we have now multiple tests, and the 9 EMA just curls for the girls coming up right up under the kitchen on this bad boy. It's a good look there. We got a small uptick in volume, and we saw a nice run in Bitcoin stocks. I think that'll be a focus for tomorrow. Let's see if these things are ready to shred. For tomorrow, I want you to add a couple stocks that I think are going to be, in flavor. So let's first start with Lucy and the Wolf. So Lucy and the Wolf has a really nice kind of, I don't know if they call it ascending, descending, non-sending, triangle, thingamajiggy. We just call them flags. I call anything that consolidates a flag. There's big long ones and then there's short ones. But we just call it a flag. Otherwise, you get stuck in this weird thing. But you've got a nice spot on this one. Dude, people were even buying options on this. I'm not sure what the purpose of buying options on a $2 stock is, but they were doing it, baby. They were doing it. It's got a good look to it. Let's get this thing ready to pate tomorrow. On the other side of things, let's just add a couple of these other Bitcoin stocks. This iron, we've been putting this on the blog for the last few days. I had a nice upgrade today from JPM, and it dipped down at the open, tested the red to green spot, and then just took off, even taking out the previous day's highs. It did not close over it though, but I think this is something that we can trade back and forth still. You get a weak open on this one. I think we go red to green. You got a nice uptick in volume on this one. BTBT, look at this bad boy, right? Blast from the past. Like, this one has got a nice little spot on it. Not necessarily as pretty as Lucy and the Wolf, but still a good God-fearing Christian stock right there, right? Like, it's just got a good look to it. So let's add this bad boy. I think you can keep a couple of these. This hive is pretty clean. Not that much volume, but it's pretty good. The Hut Nation. These are probably the trailers. They have the least amount of volume. For me personally, I like to trade stuff that's at least 10 million shares plus, at least of recent, but we don't always, sometimes you got to go hogging, right? We don't always get what we want. Sometimes you got to just close your eyes and do the stranger. Now, this spot is really a nice look to it, right? Triple tap, one test, two tests, three tests. Taking this out, a big, multi-month range from April. It's been getting, a slew of upgrades and buy ratings and price target increases. The longer the base, the bigger the caboose, right, is usually the way these things work. It's got just a good look to it for a large cap company. It's only 200 million share float. It's got a pretty good, ATR on it, 10, 12 bucks. And I think the ATR will expand as it comes out of this range. It trades a little bit like kind of Eli Lilly, where it's like it's hot, but you're like, fuck, it's got a little bit spready. So you have to watch yourself and make sure that you're not oversizing it. You have to make sure that you're not, that you're scaling into it. Say you wanted to do 300 shares. I'm just making something up, right? Say you want to do 300 shares, where, you would go 100, 100, 100. Make sure you get in there, because that spread could be, 50, 60 cents. Now, this SFIX, I think, is going to be in play tomorrow. In the post-market, it announced their earnings at 28% pop. This might be a little bit of a short squeeze action on this one. Let's see how this one holds for tomorrow. NEOG, this is about 5 million shares in volume. You got a gap fill setup that, triggered. And I think this one's got just a little bit of upside to it. It used to be 50 bucks. This type of sector, I think IBB, biotech, this kind of thing is going to run into the summer. You're starting to see really a lot of good gappers in the bios. And so I think we want to be a part of this. It's got a good look to it. Let's watch this one for a red to green. All the cryptos, add them, spot. And then, this Dell. Look, if we dip down on Dell tomorrow, hopefully we gap down or something. We retest down into some of the zones. Dude, I think we try to hit this thing. Now you got 3 tests on the 50-day moving average. It's holding so far. NVIDIA still kind of pushing through. I think this one could come in potentially and, refill this gap. The theme of this is not going away. We got TTD, just a little bit of a, flag pattern over here. So you broke, right, this bigger range. Now you're retesting it, building up that steam. It's just sitting there marinating on the hibachi grill at the 20 SMA. Loving the overall look of it. EMPH, very, very close. Test. That 9 EMA is just goosing right up under the kitchen. It's got a good look. Dude, this monster, MSTR, not Monster Energy drink, but MSTR is got a sweet spot here. If you're looking at kind of smaller term time frames, probably if you're looking more of the hourly chart here versus the daily, I think 1700 really gets it going. 1700 gets it really going, and you would still have some ATR left. That's the main thing. Sometimes these things get going and they break, but there's no ATR left. So it does 120 points ATR a day. So a lot of times what happens is like stocks will hit the resistance spot, but they've used up the ATR and all the gas to get there. So then the breakouts fail or they don't work. So always be mindful of how much ATR you have left when you're adding some of these. Space Mobile, maybe another couple days, but you're starting to build out a flag here. If you see this hourly chart, it's looking pretty good. Hey, NVAX inside day today, right? So you had this big power push from 15 to 18. Inside day, got a good look to it. And I got one last one that I'm looking at, only on a gap down. If it gets a big gap down, this LH, it got hit by some bloggers and, there was some other stuff going on, but there was the Nielsen sales data. They had a couple things going on, but you've come down 30 points. You're at the lower Bollinger Band. You got 8 stochastics. One gap down. Give me like 68, 69, something along that end. I think it's going to be a good shot. Guys, remember what I told you on these Bitcoins, right? Like, let's get these things. I think coin is got a spot too. Obviously, coin is a giant turd sometimes to trade. Anytime it looks hot, it drops. Anytime it's not hot, it comes back. It's just the way this stock works, right? So just kind of be mindful. You want to hit this thing when it looks dead in the water sometimes intraday. Don't chase it, but it's got the look, right? She's got that look. She's got that look. Showing up there and cooking my book. Man, that was a song, right? Now let's go and roll with this thing, man. I love you guys. Peace.